If you have been told you have fatty liver, or if your last blood test showed elevated liver enzymes and your doctor mentioned something about fat accumulation in the liver, we want you to understand something clearly before we go any further. This is not a permanent condition. It is not irreversible damage, and in the majority of cases, it does not require medication to fix. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is one of the most common conditions seen in preventive medicine practice, and it is also one of the most responsive to targeted dietary and lifestyle intervention. The liver is one of the few organs in the human body with genuine regenerative capacity. Given the right inputs consistently over weeks and months, it can clear accumulated fat, restore normal enzyme levels, and return to healthy function. But here is the part that matters. You have to understand what is actually driving the fat accumulation in the first place, because if you do not identify the root cause, you cannot choose the interventions that will actually work. And a lot of the advice circulating about fatty liver, even well-intentioned advice, misses the central mechanism entirely. Today, we are going to walk you through exactly what causes fatty liver at the biochemical level, the specific foods and drinks driving the problem that most people do not recognize as dangerous, the dietary changes that produce measurable improvement in liver enzyme levels within weeks, the exercise approach that accelerates liver fat clearance, and the supplements with genuine evidence behind them. If you are new here, welcome to Health is Golden, where we cover the health information that actually matters, explained clearly and without the jargon. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell right now so you never miss a video. And if you or someone you love has been told they have fatty liver and was not given a clear plan for what to do about it, this video is for you. Share it with them right now before we go any further. What is actually causing fatty liver? And it is not what most people think. The primary driver of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is not dietary fat, despite what the name might suggest. It is sugar, specifically fructose and sucrose. To understand why, you need to understand what makes fructose metabolically unique compared to glucose. When you eat glucose, it enters the bloodstream and can be used for energy by virtually every cell in your body: muscle cells, brain cells, kidney cells. The liver handles a portion of it, but the metabolic load is distributed. Fructose is processed almost entirely by the liver. When fructose arrives at the liver, it bypasses the primary regulatory step that controls glucose metabolism and enters a pathway that converts it directly to fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. The liver essentially manufactures triglycerides from fructose, and when the quantity exceeds what can be exported into circulation, stores the excess within liver cells. This is where hepatic steatosis, the medical term for fatty liver, originates. There is a second mechanism that makes fructose particularly problematic. Fructose does not stimulate the release of leptin, the hormone your body produces after eating to signal fullness to the brain. Glucose, protein, and fat consumption all trigger leptin release. Fructose does not. This means you can consume substantial caloric loads of fructose without your brain receiving the satiety signals that would normally prompt you to stop eating. And with continued high fructose exposure, the leptin signaling pathway becomes progressively less responsive, a state called leptin resistance, which impairs satiety even in response to foods that would normally suppress hunger. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that just 7 days of a high fructose diet increased lipid deposition in the liver and decreased hepatic insulin sensitivity. 7 days. This is not a slow, gradual process. The liver responds to fructose overload quickly and measurably. Now, an important clarification. Fructose occurs naturally in fruit and vegetables, and humans have consumed these foods for hundreds of thousands of years without developing epidemic rates of fatty liver. The difference is quantity, concentration, and the presence of fiber. Whole fruit contains fructose, but it is consumed alongside a fiber matrix that slows absorption, distributes the metabolic load over a longer time window, and prevents the liver from being overwhelmed. Whole fruit also delivers vitamin C, which has been shown to block some of the adverse metabolic effects of fructose at the cellular level. This is why research consistently shows that whole fruit consumption is not a meaningful driver of fatty liver disease. The problem is manufactured fructose consumed in concentrated, fiber-free form. High fructose corn syrup in sodas and processed foods. Concentrated fruit juices where the fiber has been removed and the sugar retained. Dried fruits like dates, raisins, and prunes where the water content has been removed, making it extremely easy to consume the fructose equivalent of many whole fruits in a single sitting. Did you know that fruit juice is processed by your liver almost identically to soda because the fiber has been removed? Type juice in the comments if this surprised you. We read every single one. The first dietary intervention. Eliminate sugar-sweetened beverages completely. If you have fatty liver, the first and most consequential dietary change is eliminating all sugar-sweetened beverages completely. Not reducing them, eliminating them. Sodas, energy drinks, sports drinks, sweetened coffee beverages, and fruit juices, regardless of whether they are labeled natural or contain no added sugars. The natural sugar in a glass of orange juice is processed by your liver identically to the high fructose corn syrup in a soda, because it arrives without fiber in a concentrated, rapidly absorbed form. A study published in JAMA found that restricting dietary sugar intake to less than 3% of daily calories in adolescents for just 8 weeks produced significant, measurable improvement in hepatic steatosis confirmed through imaging. 8 weeks of sugar elimination produced visible changes in liver fat content. The second dietary intervention. Prioritize protein at your first meal. A large study examining over 9,000 adults found that higher protein intake at the first meal of the day had profound effects on eating behavior throughout the rest of the day. People who ate a high-protein breakfast consumed meaningfully less total food, fewer processed foods, and less sugar over the subsequent hours, compared to those who ate a low-protein breakfast. The mechanism is partly through improved leptin sensitivity and partly through the sustained satiety produced by protein's effect on multiple appetite-regulating hormones, including GLP-1 and peptide YY. This matters directly for fatty liver because the primary driver of liver fat accumulation, excess fructose and sugar, is powerfully influenced by hunger and craving patterns. When you are adequately satiated by a protein-rich first meal, you are biologically less vulnerable to the mid-morning sugar cravings that drive the snacking and beverage choices that feed liver fat accumulation. Aim for 25 to 35 grams of protein at your first meal. Eggs, which also deliver choline, directly relevant to liver fat metabolism as we will discuss shortly, are an excellent foundation. Lean poultry, fish, Greek yogurt, and legumes are all appropriate protein sources depending on your dietary preferences. Weight loss achieved through these dietary changes is itself one of the most powerful interventions for fatty liver. Research has consistently shown that 5% total body weight loss reduces hepatic steatosis measurably, and 7% total body weight loss can produce complete resolution of non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, the more advanced inflammatory stage, in a significant proportion of patients. We are building toward a complete framework here. And if this is already giving you clarity that your appointments have not had time to provide, hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps this reach more people who need it. And share this with someone who has been told they have fatty liver and has not been told what to actually do about it. What about dietary fat? The guidance here is nuanced. The primary driver of fatty liver is sugar, not fat, but the type of fat you consume does matter. Saturated fat, found in red meat, processed meats, full-fat dairy, butter, coconut oil, and commercially fried foods does contribute to hepatic fat accumulation when consumed in excess. A well-designed, double-blind, randomized control trial compared the liver effects of overfeeding with either saturated fat or polyunsaturated fat over 7 weeks. The saturated fat group showed marked increases in liver fat content. The polyunsaturated fat group showed no significant liver fat increase, and interestingly showed a nearly 3-fold larger increase in lean tissue. The type of fat, not just the quantity, produced fundamentally different outcomes in the liver. This does not mean eliminating saturated fat completely. It means being conscious of quantity. Research suggests that consuming more than approximately 5% of total daily calories from saturated fat is where problems begin to accumulate. Practically, this means being careful with portion sizes of red meat and processed meats, limiting commercial fried foods and pastries, and being moderate with high-fat dairy products. Simultaneously, increasing unsaturated fat sources is actively beneficial for the liver. Fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines deliver EPA and DHA, the marine omega-3 fatty acids shown in multiple trials to reduce hepatic fat content and improve liver enzyme levels. Avocados, walnuts, and almonds deliver monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats that support healthy lipid metabolism. And olive oil, used as the primary cooking and finishing fat, provides oleic acid and anti-inflammatory polyphenols that directly support hepatic function. Carbohydrates. The goal is not restriction. It is intelligent selection. Carbohydrates with a low glycemic index, meaning they raise blood sugar gradually rather than producing rapid spikes, are handled by the liver very differently from high glycemic index carbohydrates. Rapid blood sugar spikes drive insulin surges, and chronically elevated insulin is a direct signal for de novo lipogenesis in the liver, exactly the process that creates liver fat. Low glycemic carbohydrates from legumes, dairy, most vegetables, and whole intact fruits are generally appropriate for people with fatty liver. High glycemic carbohydrates, including white bread, white rice, most breakfast cereals, instant oatmeal, and processed potato products like chips and French fries, should be minimized because they drive the insulin and blood sugar patterns that feed hepatic fat synthesis. For those who choose to follow a ketogenic or very low carbohydrate approach, the evidence shows it can be highly effective for fatty liver reversal, with the critical caveat that the fat sources must be predominantly unsaturated. A ketogenic diet built primarily on red meat, butter, and coconut oil can worsen hepatic steatosis despite the carbohydrate restriction. A ketogenic diet built primarily of fish, avocado, olive oil, and nuts has a strong evidence base for liver fat reduction. One clear statement on alcohol. If you have fatty liver, alcohol should be eliminated or very dramatically reduced. Alcohol is processed by the liver through pathways that directly overlap with fructose metabolism in their lipogenic consequences. Even moderate alcohol consumption adds to the hepatic fat burden in people who already have compromised liver function. For someone actively trying to reverse fatty liver, the most appropriate approach is abstention during the reversal period. Exercise. Its effect on fatty liver goes beyond calorie-burning exercise, deserves specific attention because its effect on fatty liver is not fully explained by the weight loss it produces. Exercise has direct hepatic effects through mechanisms independent of caloric expenditure. Aerobic exercise activates AMP in liver cells, the master metabolic switch that suppresses de novo lipogenesis and increases fatty acid oxidation. Exercise also increases the expression of fat-burning enzymes in liver cells through its effect on PGC1 alpha, a transcriptional coactivator that promotes mitochondrial biogenesis and oxidative metabolism throughout the body, including in liver cells. The evidence-based target is a minimum of 150 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic activity per week. Brisk walking, cycling, swimming, or any sustained aerobic activity that keeps you at a moderate exertion level qualifies. Additionally, resistance training at least twice per week builds and maintains lean muscle mass, which matters because muscle is the primary site of glucose disposal in the body. More muscle mass means a larger glucose sink, reducing the blood sugar and insulin excursions that drive hepatic fat synthesis. Studies have shown measurable improvements in liver enzyme levels and hepatic fat content within 8 to 12 weeks of consistent exercise at these levels, independent of significant weight change. The liver responds to the direct metabolic signaling of exercise even before substantial fat loss has occurred. Tell us in the comments, are you currently exercising regularly? And have you ever been given specific exercise guidance for your liver health by a doctor? We genuinely want to know, and we read every single response. Supplements with genuine evidence behind them. No supplement substitutes for the dietary and lifestyle changes described above. These are adjunctive tools, not shortcuts past the foundational work. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil, particularly in the DHA form, have a meaningful evidence base for fatty liver. A meta-analysis published in Clinical Nutrition found that omega-3 supplementation was associated with improvement in liver enzyme levels including ALHOL and AST, and with reduction in hepatic fat content measured by imaging. A dose of 2 to 4 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily from high-quality fish oil is the range used in most positive trials. Choline is emerging as a clinically meaningful supplement for fatty liver specifically. Choline is essential for the assemblies and export of very low-density lipoprotein particles from the liver, the mechanism by which the liver packages and ships fat out into circulation. Without adequate choline, fat accumulates in liver cells because the export machinery is impaired. A case control study found that high dietary intake of choline and betaine was associated with an 81% reduction in hepatic steatosis compared to low intake. The most bioavailable dietary source is egg yolk, which is why eating whole eggs rather than egg whites is specifically relevant for liver health. Lean meat, seafood, and dairy also provide meaningful choline. Vitamin E at 800 international units daily has been shown in a controlled trial, to produce significantly higher rates of histological improvement in non-alcoholic steatohepatitis compared to placebo. However, this is a high dose, and some studies have raised concerns about risks at doses above 400 international units daily. Vitamin E supplementation at this dose should be discussed with your physician and is generally reserved for patients with confirmed advanced fatty liver disease, rather than simple steatosis. Your complete practical framework. Let us bring this all together clearly. Eliminate all sugar-sweetened beverages without exception. Remove concentrated fructose sources, including fruit juices and dried fruits. Prioritize 25 to 35 grams of protein at your first meal of the day, built around eggs, fish, or lean poultry. Reduce saturated fat from processed and red meats while increasing unsaturated fat from fatty fish, olive oil, avocado, and nuts. Replace high glycemic carbohydrates with low glycemic alternatives from legumes, vegetables, and whole intact grains. Eliminate alcohol during the active reversal period. Exercise at least 150 minutes per week at moderate aerobic intensity and add resistance training twice weekly. Consider omega-3 supplementation and discuss vitamin E with your physician if your disease is in the more advanced inflammatory stage. Within 8 weeks of implementing these changes consistently, most people see measurable improvement in their liver enzyme levels. Within 3 to 6 months, imaging studies show meaningful reductions in hepatic fat content. And with continued consistency, complete resolution of fatty liver is achievable for the majority of people who commit to the foundational changes. The liver you have today is not the liver you have to live with permanently. It is responding to the inputs it receives every day. Change those inputs, specifically and consistently, and it will respond. Here is what we need you to do right now. 3 things. 1. Drop a comment below and tell us, have you been told you have fatty liver? And were you given a clear plan for what to do about it? Or were you sent home without real guidance? We read every single comment and we want to hear from you. 2. Share this video right now with someone who has been told they have fatty liver and has not been given a clear roadmap. Send it directly to them. Tag them on Facebook. This information has the power to genuinely change the direction of their health, but only if it reaches them. You can make that happen today. 3. Subscribe to Health is Golden and turn on your notifications if you have not already. We release new videos every week covering the metabolic and preventative health strategies that matter most, explained clearly, practically, and in a way that actually gives you tools you can use starting today. This is Health is Golden. Your liver is not done. Give it what it needs and watch what it can do.